host. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. A little late getting started here this morning, largely my fault. Getting solar put on the house here today, and I was worried about a permit not being pulled, and the guy called me, and he assures he has it. If he doesn't, he's not putting solar on today. But good morning, Rob. How are you?
Doing great, Todd. It's great. It's fantastic. You're getting solar on your house.
32
Yeah,
panels,
that's great.
9.1 kilowatt system, enough to produce about 1,200 kilowatts a month. So it'll take my $440 electricity bill down to the minimum 1995 you have to
Wow.
pay to be connected. So yeah, it doesn't come cheap at a cost of about $32,000. So, but I am woohoo! I am not going to be paying the man anymore. So
That's
uh,
awesome. I just wish I could put solar on my roof and really have a lot of benefit. Being in Seattle is so cloudy all the time.
yeah,
Don't really get that kind of benefit.
I'm in a sun zone that is like 5.8. The highest you can get is 6. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really stoked. So it's going to be great. But got a great show lined up for everybody this morning. We're not here to talk about solar, but we do do want Rob. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our guests, and then maybe we can talk just a little bit about New Media Expo before we get fully into the topic. But go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a couple of folks on the show this week that have been working hard at a real foundational level to build, a web series that they've been rolling out on YouTube. And we have Paul Karpenko and Paris Tanaka. I I hope I pronounced those names correctly, but
You did.
uh,
Close enough.
close enough. Okay. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you guys on. I mean, I think the big thing that really jumped out for me as I was thinking about bringing you guys on is it looks like you guys have gone through kind of the kind of way that new media is being created now. I mean, it's you had a Kickstarter campaign, that you put out there what you were going to create, and the audience and the future audience came in and supported you guys, and then you guys started producing content, and the show and the series is moving along, and you guys are finding some success there, and just wanted to learn about that process here on the show. If you guys can, yeah, I don't know, Paul, if you want to start first, but it'd be great to kind of get a big picture of what you guys were trying to create here, and what you found out about the process of starting a new kind of series of a web series, and then trying to get it funded and trying to get it created.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks very much for having us on the show. It's great to be here. Um, yeah, it's exactly right that we kind of rode this wave that's happening now, where there's a lot of content producers who are able to get stuff out in ways that just wasn't possible even 10 years ago, and it's been a really great experience to be able to make something, get funded through the internet and get it out on the internet, all kind of ourselves, and without the need for huge investments or even super high production value or any kind of normal operations that used to exist in even the 90s or so. So that's been really great that is now possible.
Yes, so if you could tell us more about the actual series, the re-election, a web series, and what the vision was, or what you were trying to create there, what the series is about, and where it is today. It'd be great to know a little bit
Sure.
more detail on that.
So the show is called Re-election, and it's about an election night stuck in a time loop. So the main character is this girl, Jamie, who's working on a mayoral re-election campaign. She's a staffer, and she's trapped reliving election day over and over. And at the beginning of the day, the entire campaign thinks they're going to win. They're all very self-assured. And at the end of the day, they lose every time. And then the day repeats over and over. So this is familiar to anyone who's seen Groundhog Day, or even
Yeah.
the new Tom Cruise movie where he keeps dying. our we play a little bit with the time loop and do kind of different things, and it's the time loop itself is just kind of a vehicle for us to talk about what it takes to convince others of your cause, or like learn from your mistakes, and things like that. And we kind of dropped you in first episode into her already having been in this situation for let's say months, and at the end of the first episode she sees a glimmer of hope about how she can break the loop and maybe get out of the time loop.
Oh, gotcha. So, so when you guys were coming up with the idea to do a Kickstarter, I mean, you guys raised about $26,000, which I think is fantastic. What was that experience like, and how important was that process to creating the series? For I know it's expensive somewhat these days. I mean, though the costs are dropping to produce a web series, but was that enough money, or what was your kind of experience with that?
I'll speak a little bit to that and then kick it over to Paris, because she's the line producer by trade. So
Okay.
we kicked in a little bit of our own money to get started. We made a pilot, and then after that we ran a Kickstarter and used the pilot as part of our campaign to get more money. And we wanted real money, and we got, ultimately the 6 episodes that we made cost about $35,000.
Okay.
And that's like just the bare minimum to make something that looks really good. And I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think we wanted to show our Kickstarter audience that we had something viable and we would deliver at the end of the day. I think a lot of Kickstarter campaigns make a lot of promises but don't necessarily come up with something, or they keep you waiting for a long time. So that was a decision to make the pilot, which we put our own money into. The Kickstarter campaign was, how shall we put this? Hard. It was very difficult.
Yeah, it's a full-time job for 30 days.
Right, and there are probably 3 of us just tirelessly working every single day, campaigning, trying to get our friends to give us money. We had a lot of friends help us out. A lot of family members helped us out. A lot of strangers, actually, just random, people who saw the project, were interested, donated money to us, which was amazing.
When I look at Kickstarter and Hootsuite, not Hootsuite, there's another one that's you get money.
Indiegogo?
Yeah, Indiegogo and the variety of different ones. I understand the work behind doing that, because we did something last year just to raise a little extra money for a CES coverage that we did. And we have this huge following on, but it was like, oh man, you have to be hammering that thing every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
People just don't. They go, oh, I'm just going to do a Kickstarter, and I think I wanted to. I was as intrigued as much on your Kickstarter strategy as the whole filming of the series. Now, I watched your first 3 episodes last night, and I will say that about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes into the first video, I was like, oh, okay, I understand where they're going here on this. And so it was pretty compelling. And, I think the thing I'm excited about is that, you guys were able to do, like you said, 5 series. The cost kind of surprised me, to be honest with you, a little bit, because I'm used to working in much lower production costs. But let's go back and let's talk about the whole Kickstarter, and really, what did it take to make that happen, to meet your goals, and what strategies you guys undertake to do that?
Sure.
I think when we started, we thought we could put the pilot up on Kickstarter and then the money would just roll in. But it turned out that it was more work than any of us imagined. So it was pretty much, we spent every single day putting it up on Facebook, putting it up on Twitter, sending. I think the best strategy for us was sending personal emails to our friends and asking, showing them that, hey, we have this project we're really excited about. We'd like you to be a part of it as well. I think that was the biggest success, or where most of our money came from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any politician will tell you, hit your base and hit them hard and hit them often, and that's exactly what we did. And you need to be messaging people every single day, and if you're not messaging people, you need to be creating content. You need to be doing something basically 100% of the time, because I think we all kind of naively thought, and maybe a lot of people think this when they start a Kickstarter, that we can just push the start button and the money will just roll in, which, like, if you think about it afterwards, like that is unbelievably naive. Because people, it's not even that people don't want to help you, it's that people have lives and people are busy and they forget, and so you need to really stay on the kind of selling train and really commit to contacting your base on a regular basis and have them send your message out and have them also be part of that process.
And I think all of our actors and our writer were a big part of that process as well. They had hit up all of their friends. They were out there campaigning, doing a really good job of campaigning in their circles. So that helped.
Right. So when as far as the creativity and everything, did you guys do like a prequel or something to the event and actually put that on the new media? Did you guys actually do a little scene within the set on your actually Kickstarter page? Or
That's right, yeah. So yeah, about midway through the process, we got this idea that we should create some video content to sort of help the process along, and we made 3 videos. 2 of them were interviews with an actor. So our main female lead and our male lead each did about a 3-minute long interview that I created. And then our female lead also did this kind of like prequel-y video, as you said, that I just filmed outside of my apartment at the time, and it sort of like fits into the story a little bit. And the idea there is just to essentially just create content. Like, that's, anything is better than nothing at that.
Right.
When you're running one of these things.
We're just trying to keep the project fresh in everyone's minds.
Exactly.
New creative ways to kind of present things to people so they'd be interested and click on the Kickstarter campaign.
when you guys started, you said that 5 episodes, about $35,000, but you basically raised about 20 on Kickstarter. So, the question that I have is, obviously you've got this product out. We're actually going to release episode 4 and 5, I guess, here soon. Doing it one a week, or how's the schedule for the
It's
release?
about one every 2 or 3 weeks. It's just as we finish post-production on them, we release them on whatever the next Tuesday is.
So what ends up being your biggest cost then from, the actual expense-wise? Because, here I am in this, 10 by 12 room, and my production cost is essentially time. And, obviously there's
some bandwidth.
Bandwidth, and, that's, if you figure it out, there are some costs. It's not like I'm roving with a camera crew or lights or adjusting stuff. So where did the biggest cost come from?
Well, one of our biggest costs was in our location. It's incredibly difficult to find a set-up office location here in Los Angeles. So that was, a big chunk of our budget.
Yeah.
Mostly, we made a choice to pay the crew because we wanted our crew to be happy and producing good work, and I think we got that from them. But just lights, camera, what else? Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's post-production costs. So we have an editor, we have a composer. That's fairly minimal as post-production costs go. Had we had more money, we would have certainly paid for other things, but I think we paid for about as minimum as we could to get a good-looking product.
Right. But there's like a whole crew of 8 people or so on this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much a very small but very much a professional Hollywood production.
So when you get into that type of situation, and I've run into this at trade shows, did the big U, the union word, come up? Did you have to have union workers or all that, or how did that? How did you negotiate, or how did you transverse that path, I guess, for a better word?
We used all non-union crew, and I think we helped some of them get into the union. Our sound guy actually got into the union because they're allowed to use hours on a non-union project in order to get into the union. So, yeah, it wasn't actually that difficult an issue.
Yeah, also the union rules for what they call new media are kind of murky. Because I don't think no one really quite knows what to do with the medium at this point. And so when you work on something that's a web series, the rules are a lot looser than they would be if you're making, a TV show pilot or a film or something.
Right.
And we're a tiny, tiny production, so, I think
Yeah.
the fact that we did pay our crew was impressive.
Right.
Yeah. So from an equipment standpoint, cameras and things like that, did you guys rent that, and what type of a camera did you guys use to actually, record the content?
Sure. So we rented. So let me start back a little bit. So the way that we went about finding a crew is I found a director of photography first, and then he was able to bring on a lot of guys that he's worked with before, so like a camera operator and a lighting person and stuff like that. And so they had a lot of equipment themselves, but also they knew, exactly where and how to rent other equipment. And so I met with the director of photography. We went through all the scripts, we planned out the shooting, and I gave him the budget constraints that we had. And from that, he...
Which would be zero.
Yeah,
no
right.
budget for equipment whatsoever.
And from that, he was able to compile kind of like a list of, okay, we're going to need these stands, we're going to need these lights, we're going to need this and that. And for the pilot, we actually shot on a camera that he owned, which was the Canon 7D. And then for the new 5 episodes, we shot on a 5D, which is a little bit better. And that was a camera actually that I owned, so there was a little bit less of an expense there. But yeah, it was mostly just kind of like going through the script and figuring it out, and he knew how to get everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I hear from a lot of kind of new media producers that are doing web series that the 5D or whatever, like you said, is a very common camera
Yeah,
that's used, and it's actually
great.
an SLR. It's not really a video camera.
Yeah, you'd be amazed though if you saw like any pictures from set, like the way that they rig it up, and they put like a matte box on it. They put a follow focus, so like you can actually like hold it as a real camera and like control the focus on it. They put a viewfinder on it. There's a screen attached to it. Like it
Starts to look like a real camera.
It starts to look like a real camera.
Yeah, does it? Okay.
Yeah, Rob, when you go to NAB this spring, you'll have to go over to the Canon booth and walk in and look at the DSLRs that are set up as camera rigs. You'll be like, really? There's a camera body behind that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It makes me laugh because I've got an XD cam here and $6,000 camera, but I don't think anyone is shooting with with actual. I don't know. Is anybody actually shooting with regular cameras now, or old style? Maybe that's not the right term. With HD cameras anymore? Are everyone using DSLRs?
I think it's DSLR and
Wow.
up. So 4K is kind of the big buzzword right now. So everyone's trying to use a red or
Yeah, red. Yeah. I think
Canon also
red
makes
is what everybody's
some
using.
specifically cinema cameras that are a little bit higher end than a DSLR, but not quite as high end as a red is, and people use those.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's using anything less than a DSLR at this point.
The red. That's a whole story in itself. I've followed those guys pretty close in what they're doing over there, and interviewed them a number of times at like NAB, and yeah, it's a pretty amazing camera rig. It really is, and they really shook up the industry in a big way. But it just goes to show, Rob. Here these guys are shooting on a 5D, and we know, I know several people that own a 5D, so it's not like the barrier to entry. And obviously the attachments, the accoutrements to get it to where it can be really is a viable, motion picture type shooting device. It costs some money, but the barrier to entry is not that bad. But heck, people are still creating stuff on YouTube and a variety of different places with iPhones. So it runs the gambit, I guess, from a professional standpoint. I've always said that people will forgive you on the video, but they won't forgive you on the audio. So Did you have a boom guy and all that stuff? And is that
Absolutely.
yeah?
Yeah, we had a sound mixer and a boom guy on set. We had some challenges because we were shooting in a big warehouse space. So, you know, it
Yeah.
sounded echoey. We had crickets.
Yeah, in some scenes you can hear crickets because they're impossible to remove afterwards.
Uh,
Yeah, we had a whole system of like throwing water bottles up at the rafters to shut the crickets up
We
for
throw
takes.
socks, shoes, water bottles.
that's great. That's great.
That's some video in itself. That's like back scene
Yeah.
stuff on you put on
Yeah,
YouTube that'll
yeah.
probably get more video. That's kind of funny.
So what was the process that you guys I went through to find the actors that were willing to act for free? No, I mean, yeah. Did you pay your actors?
No, we did not pay our actors. We were union as far as SAG went, so we had union
Okay.
actors, but we
Okay.
did not, under the new media contract, we did not have to pay them. Now, if any money comes in for the project, we do have to pay them, but yeah, they were not paid for the days that they worked so far.
Right, and that was the arrangement that everybody understood going in, and yeah, if we sell the show or the show makes any money, the actors get paid first, before Paris or I even. But the way that we found them was there's a lot of services in Los Angeles coming up now that are very project-centric because there's a lot of actors looking for work, and so for a project creator, membership is free, and then they provide for you a space to do your auditions and then like even videos of each audition, and all you have to do is leave feedback, and the actors are the ones that pay for the membership and are part of the service.
Wow.
And so we used one of those. It's called CAZT, CAZT.com. And so they provide this kind of like space with a bunch of rooms, and they give you a room and an iPad on a tripod that videotapes everything. And there's like a waiting room. There's a sign-up sheet. It looks like a legit audition, and you just kind of do your audition process ahead of time. Your breakdown process, and then you say who you want to see, and you schedule them, and they come in, and it's really painless and really amazing. And that's kind of part of the same sort of wave that we were talking about earlier, where there's so much content being created that these needs arise, these needs for kind of like actors for these low budget kind of quick things, and so services like that spring up.
It's we a couple years ago we were exhibiting and basically promoting one of the things our company does is we build channels for Roku and a variety of other devices, and had this guy come up to us and said, hey, got a great deal for you if you guys do want to do a 10 series, do a little series and have a, professionally produced. He says, we can get it for you. This is a rock bottom deal at $20,000 an episode. You won't find that anywhere else. And and I laughed at this guy, and I'm like, okay, great. Have a great day, but do you find that mentality still, or is it changing because of like stuff that you guys are doing? Is the diametric changing?
I think the assumption is that these things cost absolutely nothing to do. So
Right.
nobody, I don't know. Nobody wants to spend any money.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's sort of from both sides. Everybody assumes that web content costs nothing, but at the same time, people who are used to working on films and TV, like as crew or whatever, they don't want to do anything for less than their normal rate, and so there's this kind of like no man's land disconnect where people are just like not quite sure which direction to go in.
At the same time, though, we got to understand people got to eat, so.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part about this space. I've been pretty blessed. I've been pretty lucky to be able to do this full time for quite a while. But I've got a couple of backups too. I have a retirement from a previous job, and that helps supplement. And so it's got to be tough in this space, especially when it comes to the money piece because like I said, everyone's got to eat, and I don't know, is there going to be enough traction, or is that the ongoing challenge then in the space? You guys think do we get enough traction to make people enough money to be able to survive?
I mean, that's the goal ultimately, I think. But keep in mind that almost everybody that worked on this series, and I think a lot of people sort of at our level in Hollywood, have daytime jobs. Like all the actors have daytime jobs. I have a daytime job. Paris has a daytime job. Our writer has a daytime job, and so it's tough to know like when to jump or if to jump to this kind of like full-time immersion in doing this sort of thing. But it's the dream, right? Like everybody loves movies and everybody wants to be part of it, or at least we all do. And that's why a lot of people do it, because they love it so much. They on some level believe in the magic and romance of it enough to be able to sacrifice certain things in their lives.
So would you say that one of the big motivators of actually producing a series like this for both of you is to move your own careers along and maybe at some point be able to produce, like a program or a series for like Netflix or somebody like that, or are you trying to really build your own kind of companies to start producing serialized content because I've wondered about this whole thing. I mean, a lot of web series are like 5 to 10 minutes, right? But a more traditional TV series is more in the 20-minute range. Did you guys think about that difference? And is the goal to produce content that then can be sold to like a Netflix as an original series, or what's your thinking on those things?
I think we just wanted to produce a calling card for all of us, for everybody involved in this project, to show, hey, this is what we can do.
Okay.
But
And I'd love to say that if Netflix or Roku or Hulu or whatever comes to us, or we send them the show and they love it and they want to put on their site, of course we'd say yes, that would be great. But that was not from the beginning our one of our like main goals, and so we didn't optimize for that. We didn't prioritize for that. And this was very much almost a portfolio piece or a calling card project to show, look, I can direct this, I can write this, Paris can produce this, these guys can shoot it and light it, and these actors can play this, and so it was more for that.
Right. We wanted to come up with a high quality piece that we could show to people, be proud of, and book work off of.
one thing's for sure, if you guys want a Groundhog Day type of production, right here you could shoot it.
It's the same thing over and over again, right?
Gladly come to Hawaii for that.
It's like, and it's often the same thing,
So I'll go back and ask the question a little bit differently. I think there's a bias that content on YouTube has to be short, right? And do you guys agree with that in the bigger picture of things? Do you think that paradigm is going to change, or is it because I saw that your duration of your program I think was around 8 minutes or so. Is that correct?
10 to 12.
Yes.
10 to 12. Okay. So is there any thought about going longer in duration of an episode, or what's the thinking on that?
I'd asked for shorter when we started this whole process.
Did you really?
Said
Okay.
Each episode couldn't possibly be any shorter. We need them shorter.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have shorter content on YouTube because people are trying to watch this in between work, during breaks. People have shorter attention spans. So it's best to be short and funny for YouTube content.
Or actiony.
Yeah. You want to get someone's interest, keep their interest, and then be out as quickly as possible while leaving them wanting more. We were going for something more intelligent and like highbrow.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
A little highbrow.
Yeah, I feel like going into the process, since we weren't trying to sell since we weren't trying to make a buck right off the bat, and we weren't trying to sort of slink into an audience that already existed or anything like that. We didn't try to find a topic that we knew was, I don't know, like quote marketable, I guess, like, you know, post-apocalypse or vampires or steampunk or, you know, any of these kind of like in vogue topics. And I feel like had we done that, we would have been, you know, locked into a certain thing, and that's not what we wanted to do. Like, since we were completely doing this on our own, we wanted to do a show that we felt good about, that we wanted to do. And, you know, to your point of YouTube having shorter run times, or like if it's going to go longer or anything, it just all that matters is that somebody's interested in watching it, and you can make the argument that Netflix is better for longer form things and YouTube is better for shorter form things, just in the way that the videos are consumed on those sites.
Yep.
But in terms of like the content you produce, I feel like there's probably a market for anything that is high quality. You maybe just need to find the proper outlet for it, and maybe YouTube is not the ideal outlet for us, but you know, we're still trying to get it into other places as well. So that's kind of where we are.
So the next question though is have you had a Sandy Reynolds actually ask to buy your domain yet? So
that's our great marketing plan. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
So with the website, you know, I see you guys did a nice job by you know, talking about the episodes. You've got you know, got the stuff up there on the Twitter. You know, you've got some stuff up on there in the background. You know, so are you doing most of your are you driving most of your traffic to the website, or you're trying to drive it to YouTube, or what has been your, you know, your marketing strategies as far as the show goes? Now that you've got them up and they're running, and you know you're trying to get that out, what is your marketing strategy now?
So our primary point of contact historically has been our Facebook page. I don't think we even had a website until the Kickstarter was done and we were making the new episodes. And so that's kind of where we interact with people primarily. I created the website so that there would be this kind of, I guess, central repository for all our stuff. But you know, going back to how we had to prioritize certain ways of spending our money than certain other things,
right.
Marketing is kind of where we just kind of don't have quite the talent necessary in-house to do it. And we had someone helping us out, but she ultimately couldn't keep going. So that's kind of an area that we're still very much trying to find our footing on.
So then,
you asked this question earlier. This is, you know, I love the script. I was drawn to the script, wanted to produce it. I really liked Paul. Thought he would be a good person to like carry this through with. But at the same time, when I first read the script, I went, Paul, this is going to be really hard to market. It's not falling into, you know, any of the like things that people like really are drawn to right now, like, you know, comic book series, superheroes, you know, what have you. Video games, yeah. I'm like, this is pretty tough. So we're still trying to find our way as far as marketing goes.
I think in any project like this, and you know, I've done a number of things too where there's been no marketing budget, and I understand your struggle there. You know, and you're working social media, you're working Facebook, Google Plus, every place you can really get the word out, and you try not to be obnoxious.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, in getting the word out, and it can be a challenge. So, you know, it got me to thinking just a little bit, kind of off, like a little ding off the top of my head. Is there anyone out there that is showcasing this type of material that are actually, you know, obviously we're talking about it today on the show, but is there a site that goes and does these types of reviews on these shorts?
I think there's a couple sites. Blip TV is one that we looked at, but I recently looked into them again, and I don't think they're accepting new content. I think they're trying to like restructure their website currently. But there's things like that, and there's, you know, little Roku channels and little things like Hulu, obviously, and we are looking into like trying to get into those spaces for sure, because that's kind of where like the 10-minute sort of show lives, I think, at this point.
Yeah, Blip is owned by Maker.
Yeah.
So it's a big kind of web original content company down in LA. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. The whole web series concept has been around a long time. I know a lot of those series have been done by the larger studios that have kind of like birthed, these digital units that they've played around with a web series, and a lot of them have also played in the podcasting space too. I mean, very early on, they would actually build a podcast with the series in it that would go along with anything that they did on places like Vimeo and YouTube and those places. So did you guys? I mean, what other things did you guys consider when you were thinking about the distribution of this? Is it only available on YouTube, or are you guys working with Vimeo, or are you working with any other folks to distribute the program?
Right now, it's only on YouTube, but I am going to post it to Vimeo for sure. And I just set up an account on the site called Go Indie TV, which distributes web series, and I'm looking into other channels like that to just kind of spread it everywhere as much as I can.
Yeah. Rob, I just, as we're sitting here talking about this, and I'm, the whole brain wheels are spinning here. I just wonder if there isn't a, this seems to me like a really good opportunity for someone to do basically a, not necessarily a podcast, but maybe have a podcast listing in iTunes that did nothing but featured these types of shorts, and
promoted the series.
Promoted the series. Not maybe necessarily even promoted the series, but made them available as part of a. You maybe have the, my concept is, and this is something. If you guys want to steal it, go ahead. You talk about a series that's coming out, and then in the feed itself, the next 2 or 3 episodes or 4 or 5 episodes is the actual series, and then you do at the end, or maybe you do a post analysis or follow-up. You could almost make a continual stack of content based upon a lot of work. Now you'd have to get with the producers and make sure you got permission to redistribute and all that stuff. But I could see the potential here of really growing these types of shows. I don't know. It's just an idea, but it would definitely be a marketing way that would be inexpensive. You'd have the bandwidth cost would be the only really cost if it got popular.
Yeah, and I think that I'm just thinking, totally wildly here from the standpoint of what you could do. I mean, you could create a podcast that has just the audio in it from the series. It kind of depends on how the series is produced, right? If it's very visual or not. I know. One of the big phenomenons in the podcasting world right now is around storytelling, right? And just wonder. I know that there's some popular series that have done this, but it's more like a radio theater kind of concept of what's been successful. And I don't know if this series could be just distributed as an audio program in that medium. And I don't know. I mean, it's just an idea that I'm throwing out. As you start thinking about the actual content that you're producing, I mean, how can you slice and dice it to expose it to a larger potential audience that maybe can come in somewhere and consume it either as a subscription or as and be able to wrap some ads around it as well.
And one thing that we've always seen too is, and a thing that I take into consideration even with this show gets put out as audio and video, and the large majority of people that subscribe to the show listen to the audio only. And it's, it goes back to that paradigm that we all have. We don't have a lot of time. So people have a lot more time to listen than to watch. And I could see just watching the series, just thinking about last night, it'd have to be modified a little bit to be able to be audio only, but to make the audio portion too. But it would be definitely something that maybe I should consider going down the road. Is maybe not on this project, but maybe on the next.
Yeah, a lot more sound effects for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what you'd have to go into it thinking about is what's the experience of somebody that's just listening to audio versus video, right? And that would probably require some modifications of the script too.
And as videographers, I'm sure you guys are like, man, audio. Do we want to do audio? Man, that
Yeah.
sucks. You know why would you want? But
Yeah, totally. I can
but-
totally see that.
but you know what? The money's in the audio.
Well, we're storytellers, not videographers.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a terrific point. Is that at the end of the day, you guys are creating content and that you're trying to monetize and you're trying to reach an audience with as much as possible, and tapping into these mediums that are growing and reaching the demographic that I think that you're trying to reach. Really, it makes the project complex, and that's what a lot of people don't realize about new media creation, is that it's far more complex than people realize.
Well, I'm excited. Are you guys happy so far with the results of the series? Any regrets or anything like that?
No regrets that I can think of per se.
No, I'm thrilled with the series. I love the series. I think it turned out great. It looks great.
Yeah,
really
I couldn't be
pleased.
happier
Yeah.
with the production value, if nothing else. It
Yeah.
looks beautiful. The crew did a really amazing job, and that was like definitely one of my goals going into it. Was I made a short film a couple years ago in Chicago. There was like a little sci-fi action movie that I made myself. I'd made video shorts in the past that were just very amateurish, and one of my primary goals this time around was to do lighting professionally, to do sound professionally, to make it look like a real thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are surprised when they look at Real Action and they say, oh, the quality's actually really good. So yeah, I think we did a really good job of putting this piece together.
So
Yeah.
do you guys do any work, in your day jobs in the same medium here, or is there, are you guys like producers on, at a studio, or what's your kind of day jobs? Do you mind, telling us about that?
Sure. Well, I'm a programmer.
Programmer,
But
okay.
Paris,
Yes, I produce indie films in my day-to-day life, which is just as challenging as producing a webisode series.
Well, yeah, I would say it's very similar, though I would say that the indie movie business is kind of coming into its own now, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about that. That'd be really interesting too, is because it seems like that the indie film industry down in LA is just booming right now.
I think what's happening is actually that the budgets are coming down. People are less willing to put a lot of money into a film or place a big
Yeah.
bet on one project. So,
Yep.
I'm constantly being asked, can we make that budget any lower? And we run into the same problem of, hey, people need to eat. I, as a producer, want to make sure that my crew gets paid and that they're happy, because I think at the end of the day, that's a big reflection on your project and how your project looks.
Yep. So, what's the future of the indie movie side? Is it, do you see it continuing to take over Hollywood and the studios?
It's a viable trend. It's just, they keep driving down those budgets, and it's
Okay,
really
that's the
hard to
big
make a
thing.
film. Yeah, that's a big thing. And investors are just not as willing to put in money lately. I don't know. I think it's, I don't know. It's a problem.
Do
It's
you
an issue.
do you have a hypothesis on what's going on that you're willing to say?
No, I don't think I do. I don't know if I want to put it out there.
But Todd, you and I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Everyone
it's
wants to see something amazing that's
Right.
made for $1 million and
Yeah, there's-
shot, and
there's definitely been this trend of this no man's land rift being created between the Avenger movies
Right.
and little indie movies.
Right.
And
It's either $100 million or it's $1 million.
yeah, and everybody kind of talks about that there's no way to make like a $10 million or a $20 million movie anymore, which is indicative of that.
Yeah, it's
that
hard
trend.
to find financing. It's just people want things that have fan bases attached to them. So if you're coming up with original, interesting storylines, it just doesn't sell. At least not to the investor.
No one wants to take a chance on that.
And too is when you get into those types of upper end series, the graphics and everything that's involved in the production of that is just I can only imagine just drives the prices into the stratosphere. That stuff does not come cheap.
I'm doing the same thing in producing that I am doing on the webisode series, where I'm asking people for favors. I'm like, hey, can you possibly do this for me for, less than your rate? So yeah, I think I paid the same rate on the webisode series as I'm trying to pay out on on a feature film.
And a lot of stuff for the webisodes, we did ourselves.
Paul and I wore a series of hats. We must have done every single job that wasn't on the crew between the two of us.
Yeah, I do the preliminary editing for every episode. I do the sound mix for every episode. On the pilot, I did some visual effects shots. I do the color. On the set, we ran craft service.
Oh yes, I did catering on the set. That was exciting.
So it's just the name of the game with this kind of production is anything that you can do yourself, and what you can't do yourself, what you really don't want to, pay for.
Right. But
I think it's just been for many years now. I think a lot of people in Hollywood have been seeing this trend happen of lower and lower budgets, and it's continuing to happen today, and it does kind of raise the whole question of where's all this going with all that. I mean, do you have any idea? Do you think that the whole lower budget thing is going to continue, or is there going to create like what we're seeing now, this kind of
this divide
levels, right? It's either we're all in or we're indie, right? And there's not a lot in between. Do you see that changing at all, or do you just see that there's more and more people that are going to go independent, and the cream will rise based on how creative they are, and these studios are going to just pick the cream of the crop to distribute, and everybody's just kind of like creating content just at the lowest budgets possible?
I feel like what we're seeing with the rise of, I'll say, studios like Netflix is kind of the future of what you're talking about. The web series and web content and new media is at its infancy, and I feel like there's a groundswell right now of everyone trying to do something, and it's not clear what the final outcome is going to be. But I think shows that Netflix is producing and people and companies like Netflix are producing are some piece of the future. So there's going to be these, Hollywood studios that create these amazing, like, multi-$100 million productions, and they put them in these theaters that, are getting bigger and bigger. And that's going to be kind of one segment. And then you're going to have, someone's going to fill the void in between, like, maybe where there used to be a $20 million movie, there's now going to be a $20 million miniseries that Netflix produces and gives somebody a chance because they grew their audience enough for that to make sense for them.
Yeah, because it seems like, with everybody moving towards binge viewing and there's so much more higher quality content, what I'm seeing happening, as opposed to film, and, on the TV side.
I feel like long form television is kind of like the visual art form of the 21st century in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Rob, I think too, and I saw something the other day where the cord cutters are now not just the the millennials and the those under 30. The cord cutters, there's actually a new trend, and this has got to have the broadcast and the major folks scared out of their minds. They're starting to see now 50 plus making the shift and doing a lot more, on their screen, on their second screen versus the television. So that needle has not moved. This is the first time it's moved, this way, where television watching is going down and the second screen is going up on that 50 plus crowd. I thought it would take a lot longer. I figured we would have to take 10 or 15 years to get through to making this complete transition. But with the cost of tablets and everything coming, just plummeting, and then making it easier to watch content online, I think it's going to happen a lot faster. I think that that number, that percentage drop, it kind of blew me away. I was like, and if it blew me away, it's got to scare the major production facilities to death. So what that really ends up meaning for the indie producers and folks like us is, man, we got a fighting chance here, because they're coming to us. We don't have to go to them as much anymore. So I think it's only, I know, Paris, you talked about having challenges with budgets right now. I could foresee that changing soon, because these web series are going to become, well,
it's going to be a staple
of
content production.
Yeah.
I think the other big trend, Todd, that we should mention as we talk about cable, people cutting their cable connections is a new term that's been coming up called cable shaving, which means that people are who were subscribing to like a HBO or a Showtime or more expanded cable are actually doing cable shaving, which means that they're cutting back. They're going back to more basic. So they're basically trying to lower their expenses on cable television. That's the bigger threat to the cable industry than even cable cutting, because that's kind of reached a certain level where it's not happening as much, but people are cutting back on how many the premium packages and things like that, and that's why you're seeing HBO and these premium channels start to put out there that they're going to open it up for people subscribing who aren't on cable. It's because they're seeing people unsubscribe from this stuff through the cable connections, even though they still have cable. They're just getting cable so they can get live television, like be able to watch the Super Bowl or be able to get live TV, maybe local news and local stuff. But they're wanting to get this premium content online more and more.
And I don't want to belabor this topic too much, but I can think off the top of my head, if I could just get like 10 channels that I really love that I'm always on, and get rid of the rest, I would be a happy camper. And maybe
I have to agree with you. And my mother, whose age I will not reveal, but
smart man.
I'm 31, so she doesn't watch cable television anymore. I don't even think that the household has a cable subscription. She watches Game of Thrones on HBO Go, and she watches Netflix, and she hooks her iPad with an HDMI cable to the television, and that's how she consumes content. And she's very much not a millennial, and I think a lot of people in her generation are doing exactly the same thing, as you said.
Yeah. Well, that only bodes good things for us, in the new media space. I'm excited about it. So what does the future hold? Are you guys thinking about the next project, or what's the plan?
Always thinking about next projects, absolutely. Yeah. We have 3 more episodes to release, and so we'll be done releasing them in a few months. And while we're doing that, as I said, I'm going to try to get the show out there as much as I possibly can, try to get it seen by as many people as we can, and kind of see what kind of springboard we can use it as.
Right. And I think the next 3 episodes are actually shorter.
A little bit, yeah. There's like an 8-minute one in there.
Yeah, I think there's 2 6-minute ones.
Yeah.
And an 8-minute one, maybe.
Paris, you got what you wanted. Shorter is better. Right?
You see how excited she got when she said that?
She did. Wow, let's get it down to 5 minutes.
The first script I got was 15 pages, and I'm like, you're going to have to cut that down to 10. At least. I'm like, I'd like it to be 5, but at least 10.
So I mean, it's a real serious question. Do you guys find that the overall viewership of an episode goes up as the duration goes down?
On YouTube, I think so, absolutely.
Wow.
YouTube's just not made for long-form content, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, whatever. So we're going to need to find a better fit for the kind of show that, we have.
But, the bottom line is there's always a need for content. So, high quality content is even better. So I think there's room for us somewhere.
Yeah. I always think, the number one thing is make a good product. And to some tiny little degree, it'll sell itself, and then you just find the right outlet for it, and you find the market and the audience for it. But you need to have something good, because if you don't have anything good, it doesn't matter how good of a marketer you are after a certain point.
I think, what I'm seeing from my perspective is that as much content as there is, there's not enough content. And that's kind of weird to say. But, I get calls at least 2-3 times a week, people looking, and it's mostly overseas folks looking for content to either put in some kind of a set-top box. They're trying to fill this insatiable demand for content. We are some junkies when it comes to media, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram. You think about it. We are some content. It's the new crack. It really is. You go anywhere, and what do people do? They're down on their phones, or we were at my son had a concert, and he plays cello, and we were people in front of us. They could not. I mean, this group that he performs in has been to Carnegie Hall 3 times, and they're doing this performance. It's just absolutely mesmerizing, and I got 2 people in front of me on their phones. I just want to reach up, and what are they doing? They're on Instagram. I just want to punch them in the back of the head. So we're addicts, and so I think that bodes well for those of us that feed the need.
Yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, if anyone comes to you looking for content, send them our way. We'd love to be on cruise ships, the ISS, whatever.
That would be a great series. Go to the International Space Station.
Web series of the ISS.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'll go with you. Well, very, very cool. Rob, any final questions before we cut them loose, or?
Well, I just wish you the most luck with the series, and I hope it continues to grow. So your next project, are you going to do it the same process? Are you going to still do it at Kickstarter, or what's your thought?
Probably not. I think we're going to take what we learned from this process and apply it to the new project, as everyone should be doing.
So,
any final thoughts?
No, I think we're going to take a break from Kickstarter.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do it the old-fashioned way, maybe.
So go ahead, Rob.
Yes. So if you started again here on a project, how would you try and fund it? Just curious.
Probably the same. Probably we started this project out of our own pockets, and if we did another project, it'd probably be likely the same. Yeah.
Yeah. To some degree, that would likely be the way to go, and then at a certain point, try to get investors involved. Have a marketing plan from the get-go. Things like that. Mm-hmm.
So you think it'll be easier to get an investor once you guys have had a series like this up there, that they can see what it is and what the production quality is and things like that? Is that going to be an easier process?
That's true.
Whenever you're asking to someone to invest in a project, if they're smart, they're investing in the people, not the idea per se. So that's kind of where we're coming from.
Which happens to be the theme of re-election, actually.
Invest in people.
Invest in people.
There you go. You're so meta on what you're doing.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
It's true, though. If you're a web designer, you have a web portfolio. If you are a programmer, you have sites or projects that you've worked on. Everyone's got a calling card, and I understand and luckily you were able to fund a majority of this, or at least close to half, with a Kickstarter, and then didn't have to dig that. You had to dig deep, but it's probably, I keep telling people, and people don't. As a matter of fact, I was actually going to write my Pottertainment article on investing in your program, but I switched to a different topic. Maybe I should have wrote it on it. Maybe that's for next month. But I keep telling people, you have to invest in your content, invest in what you're doing. If you can't invest in your own stuff, then why would anyone expect to do that for you? Why would they step in and put their money forth if you haven't walked the walk and talked the talk? And
I think you're talking more than just your time. You're talking about your own money. Yeah.
Yeah, And I look at how much if my wife actually knew the budget of what I've invested in this thing. No, it's true. You got to spend money to make money, and I'm a firm believer in that. And it has come back, tenfold. So I'm hoping that what you guys have invested will come back 10 or 100-fold, and um,
We're
I
hoping that too.
wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on the show. It was great to hear your story, and hopefully it helps others be successful going through the process as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
And just before you guys go, don't forget, folks, go over to, and if you want it real quick, go over to reelectsandyreynolds.com is the place, or
search YouTube for Re-Election Web Series as well.
Re-Election Web Series, and definitely check it out. It's fun. I think those of you that have Groundhog Days from time to time will appreciate this series. It's a lot of fun. And you know who I like the best in your series?
Ooh, who?
Is your drunk.
Oh, she is great. We love her.
She's great.
We love her.
She had a lot of fun doing all
I'll
of
bet.
that.
But no alcohol on the set, right? She had to be pure acting.
Not officially, no.
No. No alcohol on the set. None.
But she did a great job representing that she'd had a few, so it was good.
Absolutely.
All right, both of you, thanks so much for coming on. Paul and
Thank you
Paris,
very much.
have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, thanks.
Wow, that interesting from where the space, what they're doing there, yeah?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was really intrigued by what they were doing, and it sounded like they had gone through the whole struggle and the whole process, and I know that there's been a lot of folks down in LA that have been trying to do exactly what they've been doing for many years, but it was good to get a kind of a check-in on that to where it is today. I've known like Tim Street and a lot of other guys that have been involved in creating a web series early on, and they're tapping into podcasting. But lately, I've seen that kind of fall away, and everybody's really dependent on YouTube for this stuff. And that, in some ways, that kind of worries me, because it does force people into this very short content kind of orientation to what they're doing. And I don't believe that there's a huge amount of success in really short video content in a drama series. I mean, you just look at television and you look at Netflix, and I mean a lot, but that's more of a lean back kind of distribution. But it does kind of make you scratch your head and say, well, why does it have to be done this way?
Yeah.
When real successful television series are done a completely different way. I mean, I've always questioned that. I've been going down to LA talking to people in this side of things for a long time that were involved in podcasting. From the big studios, the Showtimes, the Maker, and those folks.
Right.
And I just scratch my head. The assumption that everything that they do in a web series has to be 5 minutes or less is more of a reflection of YouTube than
Right.
it is a reflection of what is good content.
Yeah. Because, I just, in the back of my head, I looked at there on Facebook, they're doing stuff on YouTube, they've got their own website. I would have, this thing would be everywhere. I would, but it's, maybe I'm coming from a little different perspective too. And, I think that people are interested in the process as much as they are interested in the material. And I think people miss that. They miss the, that aspect of basically doing new media content. So.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see the energy still there in this,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what we're seeing with Amazon and Netflix is a little glimpse, I believe, of the future of this. I mean, the big studios have been creating content for a long time, and they've been distributing it in very traditional ways to television networks and things like that. But you look at what's happening with HBO opening up, and people can subscribe directly. It just makes me wonder if folks like this are going to get an opportunity to distribute their content into more lean back experiences or lean back platforms, which is where the hole is right now, I believe, and why these folks are stuck in these 5 minute kind of video realm here. And it does get back to cost. So they start going out to 20, 25 minutes, your cost of an episode goes up as well.
Right.
It's probably not directly proportional, but it, to some extent it probably is in post-production and script writing and time on set and how long you have to have equipment and things like that. It is going to elevate your overall costs. But I believe that's those longer form programs and lean back experiences is what more people want.
Yep. Well, I want to talk just a little bit, Rob, this morning too about the New Media Expo and what's going on there. Some of the podcasters, I think, have gotten their notifications that they're speaking. So they did announce that they're going to have a keynoter of Pat Flynn and Joel Comm. Those are two pretty big names in the internet marketing space. Not necessarily on the as much on the Pat's involved in podcasting, obviously, but so those two have been announced as keynoters, and then they're going to have speakers so far that at least they've released was Chris Ducker, Lynette Young, CC Chapman, Mingyong Grammar Girl Fogarty, Rich Brooks, I don't know who he is, Jay Pod Vader, of course, which we both know, Soderbergh, Rob Walsh, Missy Ward, Sean Collins, Jason Falls, Mitch Cantor, Jared Easley, Corey Finnernan, Donna Friedman, Ruth Carter, and Jordan Harbinger, Binger, excuse me. I have gotten notification that my session was accepted as well. And I think you and I may be on a super session.
Super session, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we ought to think about who the additional two people we would want on the super session. If it's going to be a super session, we should have some super people.
And it's also being talked about that the show, the New Media show would be like an episode of that.
Right.
That hasn't been entirely worked out, but I think that that may be a good format for this.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. And I agree. We still need to pull together a couple more people.
Yeah.
For this, and it's exciting. I'm excited for the New Media Expo. I think that there's a lot of cool stuff going on there and being talked about right now. I think it's going to be a real convergence of the bigger names in the space than what has been there in the past. So I think it's going to be really interesting at this event this year.
And we definitely want you to follow them at NMX. That's their Twitter, one of their Twitter accounts, at NMX. You can follow. But there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes on the podcast awards too. We had a couple of had some emails flying back and forth, and I think they're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but I think they're trying to get caught up. So should be some announcements coming up on that soon. But you see anything in the news this past week that piqued your interest from a new media standpoint?
I just continue to see the articles coming out. I don't know if I mentioned on the last week's show, Michael Wolff put out a new article on Forbes.
Yeah.
And I thought, he was pretty insightful, but I would say that the big shift that I've seen is there's articles coming out talking about how podcasting isn't really in a renaissance from the standpoint that it's grown every year since it started.
Right.
And I know you and I have been very outspoken about this.
Right.
Is that I've seen this cycle happen about 3 or 4 times now.
Yep.
Where the media gets it in their kind of spin cycle that all of a sudden it's a renaissance in podcasting. Podcasting is coming back, and it's been coming back like every 2 years for the last 10 years. And it's
here.
Yeah, exactly. But I did see some rational articles starting to show up about the space and really say, well, what's happening to podcasting isn't necessarily directly a result of the new Serial series or startup.
Right.
Those guys are more of a reflection of what's been going on in the space for many years. Um, they are popular and they are driving a lot of attention to the space right now. Um, that's only because they're being featured in every single article that's written on the space right now.
Right. Everyone wants to. As a matter of fact, I had gotten a call from a reporter yesterday, and he says, Can you put some rationality into all the news that's been going on? Can you give us some real numbers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we can do that. Let's take some time on Monday and sit down and we can pull you some data so that you can get a better idea of really what's kind of going on." But it's as I was talking with Angelo about this, it's hard for us to quantify the true growth because as the podcasting space is growing, we've been growing. So I have to be able to, it's going to be hard to quantify in a percentage per se what the actual growth is. And I think what we're seeing, and this is the way to quantify it, we're getting wider in the number of shows and we're getting deeper in the number of listeners. Now, does that mean the space is growing? I think so. To me it is, but what is the wide and tall, what is the line that goes through that to be able to determine, okay, the podcasting space is experiencing X percentage of growth? I don't know if we'll ever get that number exact. Because most shows continue to do about the same types of general numbers on an average basis. You have some breakouts, of course, but it's real tough to actually quantify the
medium.
Yeah, the medium is in what is really going on from a growth cycle. But we know it's growing because we see the increase month after month after month. We're starting to add more hardware to our stat system because we're starting, the traffic is increasing. So there's definitely this turn on of a lot more people that are connecting with the media, and it's just become, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, I'm seeing, I've been seeing this for quite a while now. This isn't really new, or there's just so much new content hitting iTunes all the time now. And it's something we've talked about many times on the show too, is what is the overall audience growth for this? That's always been as more content is produced, and more series come out, if we're not growing the audience, then we're just slicing what's there in smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah.
And it becomes, it's not, like it's been talked about too, is that oftentimes podcasting across 200,000 series is non-duplicative audience because
Right.
you have or very little duplicative audience because most people only subscribe to maybe 3 or 4 podcasts.
Yeah, we're trying to define that down too. We're getting it's amazing. When you take 65 to 85 million impressions and then try to figure out what slots they all went into. That's a pretty big magnitude of query running. So we're trying to quantify that as well into an actual real number, and see what that really is. Do a snapshot. We can pretty closely tell. And there'll be some outliers, of course, with people that are on travel and so forth. But if people are within their normal commute areas and stuff, we can pretty much nail exactly what's going on. Because believe it or not, your IP on your phone doesn't change that much. Switching from tower to tower, it does. If you're in a local area, it doesn't. So, but it is a interesting time. Rob, we're gonna have to wrap a little early today. But I don't want to rush off completely. Yeah, the PV guys are here. My wife did a light tap on the door about 10 minutes ago. But any other thoughts on what's going on in the space? Or
I don't think so. Not right now. I think things are going to start to slow down a little bit over the next few weeks
Yep.
as we move into Christmas. And
But more importantly, though, don't stop podcasting, because this is when people have extra time and start discovering
there
content.
you go. There you
You know,
go.
this is not the time to slow down your creation. Matter of fact, this is the time to make sure you're in there every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with us. Are we going to be able to do episodes every Saturday?
I don't see an issue with
Okay.
the next weekend. Obviously, we're not going to probably. I wouldn't. Well, I don't know. It's up to you. If you can book them, we can do them. Up through about the 27th, and then I'll be off to Vegas, so we'll probably miss January 3rd and January 10th show.
Yeah, I'm going to be out of the pocket on the 20th
Okay.
of December.
So
But I'll be fine on the 27th.
okay, and if we can get something for next week, I'm good for that too.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, holidays, crazy stuff, crazy busy time. If you got a suggestion for a guest, we definitely want to hear from you. And I thought we were going to have the SoundCloud folks, but he never responded, did he?
No, actually, I did get a response from Ben, and he said he just couldn't do it. So yeah, I've
Ah.
asked him multiple times, and I mean, he's in Germany, so it can be a little bit of a challenge on the timing side too.
Yeah. Well, I think the was an interesting email that he had sent. Looked like he was looking for a little press.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's interesting, but yeah, I'll find a couple of really interesting guests to have on, in the podcasting space, or maybe not.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. Hey,
okay,
thanks, folks, and sorry about the abbreviated show. PV's going on the roof, and I got guys banging and making noises. So if you have any comments on today, Todd or Rob at newmediashow.com. If you want to get tickets to the New Media Expo, right on the website, there's a banner that'll take you to the New Media Expo website. Just use the promo code New Media. That'll get you a discount no matter what. It'll be a little bit different percentage than what's on the banner, but New Media is the promo code to use at NMX Live. You actually help the show when you do that too. I think we get actually a little bit of a reward every time you use our code. So please do so, and definitely get your tickets to the New Media Expo. It's going to be a great event. Come out and hang out with Rob and I, and we can talk shop for a whole week, or 4 days at least. But everyone, thanks for being here. Rob, have a great week.
thank you. You too, Todd.
All right, everyone. Take
Thanks.
care. We'll see you next time. Aloha. It's big screened.